in my domain. Got the whole crowd screaming out our name. It's a blowout, it's a hurricane. It's over before you know it. While you shaking, we're a dynasty in the making. We're the royalty, now we're breaking down the enemy. Move over for the soldiers. Take a swing, I can take a hit. If we die, it's fine, we live for this. It's all for this. We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky. Gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights. For the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight. Hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high. For the glory, we do it for the glory.
12 drivers enter, only 8 will make it through. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here as we get ready for chase race number 6. More importantly, elimination race number 2, where we will whittle the field down from our remaining 12 playoff drivers to whoever will make it into the round of the Elite 8 and set their sights on round 3 to make it to the final 4 to compete for the championship at Auto Club. If you keep score as far as overall races, this is race number 32 on the season for the 6th season of the NNSCRA Hersheys Cup Series, and we're ready to cap off what's been an exciting weekend here at the Madrid Super Speedway. The truck race was amazing. The Pizza Hut X Series race had a photo finish, and here today, even more higher stakes as there are 8 transfer spots to continue on to the next round of the playoffs on the line here today. And we know at super speedways, every position counts because every position is a point, and it's going to be very interesting to see what we're going to have today with the drivers that come into this race outside of the cut line, drivers that are just ahead of the cut line. At this point, only one driver comes into this race worry-free of moving on to the round of 8, and we'll get to that in just a moment. On the pole position, though, J Srigley still looking for his first win of the season. He's been close a few times in the past few weeks, but just hasn't been able to capitalize. Alongside of him, 3-time winner Benny Watson now ties Brooke Allen for most wins this season. Benny Watson may end up taking on the moniker Rookie Sensation of Domination for this series. That title was donned by John Cittadino back in the now defunct Snickers Cup Series. But Benny Watson last week, I don't want to say he was handed the win, but it certainly looked like Trent Dunham was going to win that race, but he couldn't make it on fuel, and Benny Watson had enough fuel to win that race under caution at Lime Rock. So Benny Watson, 3 wins this season, and certainly you got to think, even though he's not in the playoffs anymore, he's certainly going to be a threat next year in his second full-time season for Flying Aces Racing. Behind them, you got Sean Gallighan. He went to victory lane a couple of weeks ago at Oswego, so he'd love to find victory lane for the second time in 3 weeks. And alongside of him, J McCloud, who comes into this race currently down in the 35th position in points, and more importantly, he's only 2 positions ahead of that cutoff area of drivers trying to keep their charters for next season. So certainly he could use a good run today and would love to go to victory lane for what I believe would be the first time in 2 years for that 51 team. Now it's time to let you know what the playoff standings look like, but first, we got to get these cars rolling off for their pace lap. So why don't we do that? Let's go down trackside for those most famous words.
Drivers, start your engines!
Command is given. You can check down in the description below for the official starting lineup for today's race. Looks like 2 of our playoff contenders are starting in the top 10, Benjamin Miles in 8th, Charles Sandfer in 9th, but the rest of the 10 competitors are peppered through this field as we give you now your playoff grid coming in today's race presented by Golden Corral. Zachary Fitzwater is the only driver coming into this race at this point that really has a worry-free race in his future that he will make it into the round of 8. He holds 20 points over second in the standings, Benjamin Miles. Daniel Voyles is third in points. He is only 20 points ahead of the cut line. Trent Dunham, he's 4th in the standings. He is, I'm trying to do quick calculations in my head. He is 17 points ahead of the cut line. 14 points ahead of the cut line is Dallas McIntosh in 5th. Charles Sandfer is 6th. He is 7 points ahead of the cut line. Only 3 points ahead of the cut line is J Baskinger in 7th, and the driver that comes into this race on the cut line position, 8th in the standings, is T Walch, the only driver that has won a playoff race so far this season back at Indianapolis. The 4 drivers that come into this race in those 4 elimination spots, 9th in the standings is J Reynolds. He's only 1 point back from T Walch. Only 3 points back, 10th in the standings, former champion Anthony McCrury. Brooke Allen, 3-time winner, is 11th in points. She is 12 points behind the cut line and 18 points behind the cut line. In 12th is J Arndt. Now, Madrid Superspeedway replacing Riki Raceway on the schedule from last year, and it's important to note, last year, 1 year ago, Riki Raceway, that race was won by the guy who is 12th in the points coming into this race, J Arndt. So can lightning strike twice in 2 seasons for the driver of the 05? With the points as close as they are, I would say basically for Brooke Allen and J Arndt, they are almost in a must-win situation. I don't think they necessarily have to be in a must-win situation, but certainly a win would help them to be able to get some bonus points for the next round and lock them into the next round as well. It would be a lot easier than having to try and figure out where everybody is and come away with a top 5 finish, maybe making it in, maybe not making it in. But here we go, getting ready to go. Racing here today, 28 laps. They will have to pit in this race for the first time this weekend. As the green flag's out, let's roll at Madrid. Pit window for these drivers is going to be somewhere around 25 to 28 laps, maybe a little sooner than that, depending on if you're out in front and using up more fuel with cutting the gap for everyone else. So we will, if we don't have a caution, we will have our first round of green flag pit stops here this weekend. Trucks, they were able to make it the 19 laps, and they were able to make it 24 laps in the Pizza X Series race without having to come to pit road. That will not be the case here today. J Srigley had his car pinned down on the bottom, but now Sean Gallighan's going to open the door down low. Srigley's going to be able to clear him and K Shearer, as Srigley will lead the first lap of this race. And if our Tax Layer Truck Series, Pizza X Series races are anything to go by, early on, it is very difficult to hold on to the top position. And speaking of top, that top line is also a difficult area. As you see Benny Watson way up the track, he's into the wall. Looked like J Bryant and Benjamin Miles also were up there brushing that wall. And you don't want to be stuck on that wall for too long, or else you're going to lose the draft. J Gilbert, our winner from Chicagoland, will now move to the front, bringing Dallas McIntosh along with him. McIntosh, the Daytona 500 winner this season, hasn't won since then, and we're at a super speedway as he'll dive to the inside of Gilbert, and he's going to bring Emmanuel Hartnett along with him. Anthony McCrury right there, his teammate right behind him in 5th, Cole Baker. And then they're almost 4 wide back there for around the 6th position. K Shearer, T Walch, Chris Dodd behind Charles Sandfer, and here comes J Arndt. You see him down there, that orange and black Chevrolet on the bottom. He's trying to make his way to the front. Battle for the lead. Hartnett now steps out of line on Dallas McIntosh for the top spot. Emmanuel Hartnett looking for his first win of the season. Been a long time since Hartnett's been to victory lane, but he doesn't have any drafting help. Cole Baker is up top helping the 14 of Dallas McIntosh, so they'll get better straightaway speed, as the pole sitter Joseph Srigley got the wall that time off turn 4. There's 2 reasons why the drivers are having difficulty on that high line and are brushing the wall. First reason is as these tires start to warm up, heading into the corner as fast as they're going, about an excess of 210 miles per hour, that right front tire heat builds up and it makes it very difficult for the car to turn. Secondly, they're carrying so much speed that when you're up on that top line, the car wants to drift up on you with all that speed. You don't want to lift because then you'll lose a lot of momentum, but at the same time you're drifting up to the wall and the wall just kind of sucks you in, as Brandon Gonzales is going to go to the top spot now. Gonzales trying to get his 2nd win of the season after winning earlier on this year at the dirt track of Eldora. Got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, and we've got a driver hitting pit road I saw near the tail end of the field, as it's a drag race to the line between Gonzales and Lake. Give the lap lead to the 55 of Shane Lake. As this battle's going on, let's quickly see who came to pit road, and it's the 77 of Alex Drayton. And I don't think this is a pit stop for short pitting as far as the fuel strategy is concerned. Something I think is amiss on that machine. As back up front, Shane Lake leads Joshua Ciculli. Dylan Poteet now to the bottom. And Tim Walsh comes into this race in that position of 8th in the standings, that cut line, if you will, as one driver up in the wall. That was Charles Sandfer, playoff driver. And here comes, oh, look at this! Shane Lake's coming to pit road from the lead. So maybe this is pit strategy. Maybe they're expecting this thing's going to go green to the end. This might be the only stop they have to make. Remember I said it was about, what, 25 to 28 laps? This would put them, I think, in the fuel window. So maybe, just maybe, Shane Lake and Alex Drayton, expecting we're going to go green flag all the way to the end, they're making their pit stops now. Interesting. Shelton in the wall, Shearer in the wall. But Tim Walsh, we know he can rise to an occasion. Started out the playoffs 42nd, I should say, at Chicagoland, 40th at Kentucky. Headed into Indianapolis, our first elimination race, in a must-win situation. What did he do? He won and moved on to round 2. Comes into this race, a color flag, we got trouble! Fitzwater around! I believe that was Daniel Voyles as well. They're spinning into the infield. Caution's going to be out for the first time here today, and that's going to be, I think, a big break. Oh, we got more wrecking! Oh my goodness, they slid back up in front of traffic. The big one has struck here at Madrid. The first wreck of the weekend, the first caution of the weekend, and it is a big one. And there you see Drayton and Lake. I think they got out ahead of the leader, so I think they are still on the lead lap. So that was a very timely caution for them, but we had a lot of drivers swept up in that wreck, not only at the initial start of it, but I think they slid through the grass and swept right back up in front of everybody. And we could have had some playoff drivers definitely caught up in that one, and that could end some championship hopes. Let's see who was involved. J Gilbert was in it in the 98. There's Daniel Gilbert, and there's the first car I saw get out of shape, the 26 of Daniel Voyles. He came into this race 3rd in the point standings. He was 20 points ahead of the cut line. I don't know if this is going to take him out of the playoffs or not. Blaine Keys was in it. There's the driver Fitzwater that I saw also get involved in the initial wreck. He came into this race almost worry-free of making it into the round of 8, but we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. Most of these other drivers don't look that badly damaged. There's a little bit of left side damage to R Reynolds. J Richardson, though, he's got a lot of damage, as does the pole sitter J Srigley. Is that McCloud there in the 51? I don't know if he's got damage or not. Got to wait for a camera angle. He might be just making a regularly scheduled stop here under caution, as most of the drivers ahead of him are doing the same. Oh yeah, McCloud was caught up in it. Surprised that Keys is staying out with that rear end damage, and R Reynolds. And it's kind of hard to tell if anybody else was really had some significant damage. I mean, that looked like a really big wreck, but for the most part, I'm only seeing somewhere around 6, 7, 8 drivers with extensive damage, unless there were some cars that were on pit road that I did not just see. So we're going to have to take a look at a replay and see who indeed got the most damage out of that wreck. After the leader, Joshua Ciculli, came to pit road, of the drivers that stayed out, Dylan Poteet will now inherit the race lead. A number of drivers decide to stay out under this caution. So we'll see if Poteet will restart the leader, if maybe he and these other drivers will come to pit road on this next lap. But for now, let's take a look at a replay of what brought out the caution for the first time this weekend at Madrid. This was pretty close to the front of the field, too, and you can just see that outside wall. Daniel Voyles gets it off turn 4. Blaine Keys is right into his left rear quarter panel, and they slide down right into the 59 of Zachary Fitzwater. And, oh, there's no safer barrier there. Wow, that is steel guardrail that those two drivers just hit. And so that's very unforgiving, and that could be the end of the day for both those drivers. Now you see the 59 of Fitzwater spinning there through the grass. I think he's the one that sweeps up a lot of other drivers in the ensuing follow-up wreck. We'll look at that in just a moment here. As Voyles and Keys, they didn't get hit. All right, so there's Fitzwater. Oh, no, it wasn't Fitzwater that caused that second wreck. So how did that second wreck happen? All right, there it is. That's, I think that's Kyle Mathews there, along with Gilbert, McCloud. Oh, it was the 7 of Johnny Gardner that started it. He's down there on the apron. And then he tries coming back up, and they were almost practically 4 wide above him, so there was no room for him to come back up. He tries to fit in front of Elijah Gilbert, and there's just nowhere to go. You see back there Dylan Young turning R.J. Reynolds around. And then there you see they just all get swept up. Gardner, Mathews, McCloud, Gilbert, Srigley, Richardson. I think that was Anthony McCrury right there, and he's going to go down into Dylan Young. Reynolds got slid up into that wreck. And then here comes Cole Baker, Jessica Shelton, Charles Sandfer, and K Shearer. Did they get through it? I think L Alvarise may have gotten a little piece, but maybe not much. Lane opens up top for Shelton, Sandfer, and Shearer to get through. And Dylan Young got some damage from that, as well as Anthony McCrury. Not much, though, I don't think. But there you see it. Richardson, Srigley, Reynolds, Gilbert, and Gilbert. And Reynolds got turned around off the nose of Dylan Young and then slid up into the wreck. So he wasn't actually involved in that secondary wreck. He got spun into the secondary wreck. And Reynolds is a playoff contender. We should keep that in mind. So it looks like, to my knowledge, 3 of our playoff drivers, maybe 4 if you include McCrury, got involved in the wrecks that took place here. Voyles, Fitzwater, McCrury, and Reynolds. We'll have to see if those 4 are able to continue and keep their playoff hopes alive. I'm assuming we're going to get the 1 to green signal here and go back green on lap 11 of 28. And survey says, no, we're still going to have another lap of caution. Well, that caution was certainly a big break for Shane Lake, who came to pit road before that caution came out. Therefore, when everybody else had to come to pit lane under that yellow flag, Shane Lake was able to stay out, and he will inherit the race lead. He actually pitted from the lead when he came to make his green flag pit stop, so that strategy definitely worked out in his favor as he's chasing his first win of his Hersheys Cup Series career. Let's take a look and see who retired out of the race after the wreck. They include the cars of Blaine Keys, James McCloud, Daniel Gilbert, Elijah Gilbert, Joseph Srigley, James Richardson, and Daniel Voyles will finish in 42nd place. So for Voyles, who came into this race 20 points ahead of the cut line, he needs to hope and pray that Tim Walsh, R.J. Reynolds, Anthony McCrury, Brooke Allen, J Arndt, that they do not finish 20 positions or more ahead of him. And right now, Tim Walsh is running in the 9th position for this restart. It'll be Lake with the lead, Ciculli second, Kat Batson third. There's 3 drivers that would love to find victory lane this year. J Baskinger, the highest running playoff driver right now, in 4th. 5th is Cody Smart. 6th is Jordan Anderson. Levi McIntyre 7th. JT Bryant 8th. Tim Walsh is 9th, and Brandon Gonzales is 10th. So only 2 of our playoff contenders are currently running inside of the top 10 as we speak, with Baskinger in 4th and Walsh in 9th. Let's find out where the rest of our playoff contenders are going to restart here, as it looks like we'll go back green on lap 12. Brooke Allen will restart in 11th. Trent Dunham back in 16th. J Arndt in 19th. Dallas McIntosh in 20th. Charles Sandfer in 26th. Benjamin Miles will restart in 29th. Zachary Fitzwater 31st. 32nd for R.J. Reynolds, and Anthony McCrury in 34th. So 11 of our 12 playoff drivers are still running, and all 11 are still on the lead lap. The only one out of the race at this point is the 26th of Daniel Voyles. Right now, Tim Walsh is in a good spot to make it into the playoffs next round. And Brooke Allen could be in a spot right now to get into the next round of the playoffs, as she's running well and Sandfer isn't. So I don't know right off the top of my head what the gap would be between those two. I think somewhere around 25 points. Whoops, hit the wrong thing. Brooke Allen is 11th, so she needs Sandfer to be running 36th or worse, and Sandfer is running 26th. So right now, yeah, Brooke Allen still would not be in the playoffs. Sandfer would be. And right now, the only 2 drivers that have a shot, it looks like, of maybe displacing somebody with a win that are up near the front would be Allen in 11th and possibly John Arndt in 19th, but he's still got some work to do. So right now, as it stands, I believe that the 4 drivers that came into this race in the elimination spots would still be in the elimination spots. Reynolds, McCrury, Allen, and Arndt. And we're going to have to keep tabs on Reynolds and McCrury because we know both of them got swept up and got pieces of that wreck, so we don't know if they're going to be completely up to speed. Aerodynamics so important at a super speedway, so we'll see if they are up to speed. If they lose the draft, they're going to have to hope for maybe a second big one to be able to pick up some positions here on the racetrack in the closing stages of this race. So I think these drivers are good to go on fuel now, so that caution certainly eliminated our potential for green flag pit stops to happen throughout the field. So now we're basically just racing to the checkered flag, I do believe, and Shane Lake will lead them down, trying to become the 5th rookie to win this season. Both he and Jordan Anderson, the only rookies that have yet to find victory lane so far this year. His closest opportunity was back at Dover, where he finished 2nd to fellow rookie Benny Watson. He also had a shot in Indianapolis. He was up in the top 5 for most of that race. The car got kicked to the high line there. Looked like that might have been the 29 of Kyle Keith as we got a battle for the lead. Here comes Joshua Ciculli to the inside, and he's got help in the form of Baskinger and Anderson. Johnny Gardner, his car very badly damaged. He's already losing the lead pack. Anthony McCurry was at the tail end of this pack. We'll have to see if he can keep in touch with these guys or not as the field got a little spread out there. Might have been some drivers that got minor pieces of the accident that held up some drivers there. Trying to see who that could have been. I don't really know. Everybody kind of filed down to the inside lines. They're 3 wide for the lead again. Jordan Anderson to the bottom. The defending Pizza Hut X Series champion as Shane Lake gets the wall. And he nearly got turned around by Kat Batson. It was almost deja vu of what happened for our first yellow flag between Daniel Voyles and Blaine Keys off turn 4. Oh, I thought we were going 4 wide as Tim Walsh tried to take the top spot. Now Emmanuel Hartnett moves to the inside. Now here comes Benny Watson in the 24. Here comes Trent Dunham in the 1. He wants to get himself a valuable bonus point for a lap led. Can he do it at the line? He's got Baskinger, or make that Batson rather, pushing him, and Dunham will lead that lap. So Dunham will get a bonus point. Now here comes Keith Batson to the inside line. Help from Joshua Collard. And here comes Dallas McIntosh back to the front in that 14. Let's drop to the back real quickly as this battle up front continues to heat up. There's Johnny Gardner by his lonesome. Kyle Mathews also with a lot of damage as he was caught up in the wreck, has lost the lead pack. There's Anthony McCrury trying to keep in touch with this group, along with Chris Dodd in the 88. There's R.J. Reynolds as well. McCrury and Reynolds came into this race 9 to 10. Trouble, big wreck! Oh my goodness! 2nd big one of the day. Ooh, look at Reynolds snake his way through. As they'll come to the caution, the 2nd big one here at Madrid. And again, it was off turn number 4. And I think that one swept up more playoff contenders. I thought, I might have been wrong, but I thought I saw the 38 of J Baskinger involved in that one. Joshua Collard's on pit road. JT Bryant, Ciculli. Trent Dunham, the defending champion, was in it. He's got left and rear damage. There's Baskinger with rear end damage. I was pretty sure I saw him in it. Charles Sandfer was collected in it. There's 3 playoff drivers right there. Bang, bang, bang. Alex Drayton was in it. He's got a lot of front end damage. And is that damage on Brooke Allen? Looks like she might have gotten some rear end damage. Tim Walsh also has damage. And Shane Lake, who restarted out in front on that last restart, he was caught up in that wreck. Now looks like we got some drivers that are indicating they're coming to pit road. Are any of the leaders? Nope. K Shearer is going to be the first. He's got right side damage, so he might have been involved. His teammate L Alvarise is also coming to pit lane. We're going to drop back here just real quickly, see if any of our playoff drivers are coming to pit road. Yeah, they are. Sandfer, Baskinger, and Dunham. Now, the reason we're going to follow these guys is because we got to see if they're going to continue. They got to try and stay out and salvage what they can. Dunham on pit lane. He, I think, is staying in. Yep, he's going to try and get that car repaired. There's Baskinger behind Sandfer. Sanfer's got a lot of damage. He might be out. Baskinger pulls into his stall. They're going to repair that car. And look at all that front-end damage on Sandfer. Are they going to try and repair his car, or is he out of the race? No, they're going to try and get him back out there. Smart move. Wait a minute. I think Trent Dunham might have retired. He did. Trent Dunham's out of the race, and Sandfer's out of the race. Oh my goodness. Sandfer came into this race 6th in the standings. He was only 7 points ahead of the cut line. Trent Dunham came into this race 4th in points, and he was only 17 points ahead of the cut line. And both of them are out of this race. My goodness. Sandfer's in big trouble right now based on the live points. He, I think, right now would fall out of the cut line. Trent Dunham would be close. Keith Batson leads us under the caution, though. Let's take a look at a replay of our second big one of the day here at Madrid. Well, I have a feeling if we watch the 33 of Collard, the 1 of Dunham up on that top side, we're going to get a pretty good idea of how this one started. Collard's running way, way up the track there, and Dunham's all over his left rear quarter panel. There was just no way that they were going to get through that without the 33 getting hooked. Down into Shane Lake. Kyle Keith gets a piece. K Shearer, Ciculli. There's Sandfer. He had absolutely nowhere to go. And then Keith's car is going to turn back up the racetrack, and it's going to sweep up some more drivers. Back up, I think, in front of Shane Lake. He's going to hit the wall. I don't know if anybody else hits him or not. Dylan Poteet and Benjamin Miles go down to the bottom to avoid down in the grass. Baskinger got turned off the nose. I think that was Fitzwater. Right in front of Brooke Allen, who does a good job to stay off of him. And I think Baskinger comes back up into Cody Smart. He does. And then also gets a little piece of Jessica Shelton. And further back here, I think it was J Bryant, Alex Drayton, and Dylan Young who got into the spinning Kyle Keith. There's Sandfer through the grass. There's Dunham, Ciculli. There's Bryant. Collard's car comes to a dead stop. I wonder if he had something going wrong with his race car and he was trying to get out of everybody's way. He might have had an engine issue or something. He was trying to move way up. That might have been why he might have been coming off turn 4 so high, trying to let everybody by, because his car never refired back up. But is that the end of the playoff hopes for Charles Sandfer? We're going to have to wait and find out. He was very close to the cut line coming into this race. He needs some more drivers that were around that cut line to struggle here today. And it may just happen. We've already worked 2 cautions here today, and they're the first 2 cautions of the weekend. Well, we kind of got the hint when we started out this weekend at Madrid that Madrid Superspeedway was definitely going to play a huge factor into who was going to be moving on to the round of 8 and who was not, but I didn't expect it was going to be on this scale. Out of the race after the second big one of the day include the following: Shane Lake, Alex Drayton, Charles Sandfer, Trent Dunham, also J Bryant, Joshua Collard. I'm surprised there's not more drivers out. But most notably, 2 playoff contenders. 32nd is where Charles Sandfer will finish. 33rd is where Trent Dunham will finish. And we've also got another playoff driver out of the race after the first big one, that being Daniel Voyles. So we mentioned Charles Sandfer was 7 points ahead of the cut line coming to this race. Trent Dunham was 17 points ahead of the cut line. It all really depends now on the runs of Tim Walch and R Reynolds, Anthony Curry, Brooke Allen, who are still in this race. We're going to have, I believe, 2 playoff contenders restart in the top 10. J Arndt in an almost must-win situation in 5th. Dallas McIntosh in 6th. Benjamin Miles is now 12th, Fitzwater 13th. We saw RJ Reynolds snake his way through the wreck. He's now 14th for the restart. McCrury is 17th, Tim Walsh 18th, Brooke Allen 19th. Baskinger is 27th, and that is it for the remaining playoff contenders in this race. Green flag back in the air. 10 laps to go here at Madrid. Nissan Maxima pushing a Lincoln Continental here in the Hersheys Cup Series race at Madrid. And I think I hear an idling engine up ahead. No, I guess not. All right. I thought somebody might have just been coming off of pit road, and that would be someone for these leaders to have to deal with, but fortunately that is not the case. Gonzales out in front now. McIntyre's going to move to second. Hartnett tries to go to third as that inside line is boogieing out of turn number 4. McIntyre over a year since his last win. Over 2 years since his last win. Brandon Gonzales winning earlier on this year at Eldora as Keith Batson got way up the track there with his teammate Kat Batson, and I think Keith might scrape the wall off turn 2. Yes, he did. There's the 25 of Benjamin Miles running very well right now. Looks like he's in good shape to move on to the next round, and trying to pull a Tim Walsh from round 1, J Arndt fighting his way to the front of the field here. He's got Reynolds, McCrury, and Walsh all behind him. That's a wad of drivers that are fighting for those final few spots in the Elite 8. How about RJ Reynolds? Got swept up in the first big one and is up here still, up to speed in the top 10. And I think we can credit his very veteran maneuvers through that second wreck a big reason why he is up here where he is. Anthony McCrury right there in third place, Tim Walsh in fourth, and with these drivers running well, that is bad news for Charles Sandfer as well as Trent Dunham. And their hopes of making it into the playoffs, especially for Dunham, who was trying to win the Hersheys Cup Series championship in back-to-back seasons, the defending champion of the series. As we have these drivers up here like Arndt, McCrury, Fitzwater, Walsh, all running well, what about the other drivers that are closer to the rear of the field for our playoff contenders? Got to go back here. There's Baskinger. He was 7th in points, so he was right near the cut line, only 3 points ahead of the cut line. He's in trouble. Reynolds is actually faded back here to the tail end of this lead pack. Brooke Allen is picking up spots now with the 25 of Benjamin Miles, but Brooke Allen's almost in a must-win situation coming to this one, so she needs to get herself closer to the front of the field, and I don't know if maybe that rear-end damage is holding her up just at least a little bit. J Arndt moving Anthony McCrury out of the way as he tries to get back to the front. And obviously, as we're at a super speedway, it's very difficult to mentally figure out who's in, who's not, with so many different scenarios. A couple of playoff drivers have led some laps as Chris Dodd got forced down to the very bottom of the track there. Hopefully they let him back up. Looks like they did. Oh well, he's still got 2 tires down there on the apron. Now he gets back up in front of Keith Batson as S Gallighan out in front. But right now, if I were to make an educated guess of who's in, who's out, I would say that the drivers that would be in, or the drivers that would be out rather, in the elimination spots would be Charles Sandfer, J Baskinger, Brooke Allen, and J Arndt at this current point in time. That's just me with an educated guess. That's not fact. S Gallighan got his first win of the season a couple weeks ago at the dirt track of Oswego, trying to get his second win here. Didn't make the playoffs. Now it's McIntosh right behind him, wants an automatic ticket into the round of 8, even though right now with where he's running, McIntosh would make it into the Elite 8. That, I think, was Levi McIntyre up and into the wall. And he's going to lose the lead pack. Possibly. He might be able to get picked up by Chris Dodd and Zachary Fitzwater back there. And when we hit the line, there's 4 laps to go. We have worked 2 cautions for 2 big wrecks. It looks looks like we're setting up for a doozy of a finish, and we got a lot of contenders up here. Look at Benny Watson there in the 24. He wants his second straight victory and fourth of the season, which would tie him with Dylan Poteet for most wins in a single season in the Hersheys Cup Series. Tim Walsh right there in the 15, wanting to win his second straight elimination race. Is the caution out? No, it's not. Okay, I thought I saw the yellow lights on. Benjamin Miles just got the wall back there. He's going to lose some ground, as here comes Watson for the lead. We might have to name this guy the Rookie Sensation of Domination, because my goodness has he turned up the heat with his performances. Keith Batson up the track. He's into the wall. There were a couple of other cars near the rear that were up and into the wall. Miles and Gilbert. I think that was Gilbert. And I think it was Levi McIntyre as well. Watson trying to tie Poteet for a record, and look who's right behind him. The other record holder, Dylan Poteet. He doesn't want Watson to share the 4 wins in a single season stat with him. Anthony McCrury, though, here he comes to the inside. He's looking 3 wide for the top spot, but he's got no help. Middle line's going to move. Poteet will go to the lead. Wait, is someone coming to pit road? These drivers were moving around like someone's indicating they're coming to pit lane, and indeed they are. McCrury's on pit road. McIntosh to pit road. We got green flag pit stops in the closing stages of this race. Baskinger was on pit lane. A lot of playoff contenders pitting this time. Reynolds is on pit road. Fitzwater. This race is going to come down to pit strategy. I thought with those 2 cautions, they were good to go on fuel. That's not the case. It was 2 to go when Poteet hit the line. Now the question is, can these drivers make it? And look who's in third. J Arndt in a must-win situation. Can lightning strike twice with someone pulling off a shot clock cheese in an elimination race? He's got his teammate Benny Watson there in the 24 with him. But I think Watson may be coming to pit road. Are any of these guys coming to pit road here? Oh, J Arndt, he's coming to pit road. Arndt has to pit. That may be his playoff hopes done. Poteet, Watson, Walsh, they stay out. White flag in the air. Can Benny Watson make the move on Dylan Poteet here? Can Tim Walsh reel these guys back in quickly enough? Watson got a heck of a run there through turn 2. He's going to the inside. There's going to be traffic ahead to deal with, though. Fitzwater right in front of him. Watson's going to shoot the gap up the middle as he's still going to get to the left rear quarter panel of Dylan Poteet. Watson looking for his 4th win of the season as a rookie. Walsh closing up the gap. Will he have something to say? Out of turn 4 for the final time, Benny Watson. He's going to tie Dylan Poteet for the record of most wins in a single season. He is the Rookie Sensation of Domination. 4th win of the year. Back-to-back wins. He takes the checkers here at Madrid. I've never seen a rookie since John Cittadino back in Season 5 of the Snickers Cup Series be so dominant. Benny Watson hits his 2nd straight win. It's his 2nd win at a super speedway, winning earlier on this year at Daytona, and it's his 4th win of the season. He beat Dylan Poteet, who up to that point was the only driver with 4 wins in a single season, and now Watson and Poteet share the statistic of most wins, 4 in a single Hersheys Cup Series season. Are you kidding me? Benny Watson, Dover, Daytona, and then last week took the checkered flag at Lime Rock, and now 1 week later at Madrid. This is going to be a guy to watch next season, his full-time season, 2nd full-time season, as a potential contender for the championship. A former Pizza Hut X Series champion, and what a drive. What a heartbreak for J Arndt, though. Almost looked like he was in the running for a shot clock cheese win and had to pit in the closing stages. Watson will get the win. Tim Walsh, rising to the occasion once again in an elimination race. Came in on that cut line spot, 2nd place. He's into the round of 8. Dylan Poteet will have to settle for 3rd. Kat Batson, good run for her there in 4th. S Gallighan 5th. Manuel Hartnett 6th. Must-win situation possibly for Brooke Allen, but she gets 7th. So is that enough for her to move into the next round? She might have dislodged maybe J Baskinger or Charles Sandfer from the Elite 8 and maybe have moved on to the next round. We'll have to wait and see here. Kyle Mathews and Jessica Shelton. Good run for those two Retro Racing Enterprises cars. Mathews had damage, if I recall. Got involved in the second wreck, but somehow gets 8th with Shelton 9th. And Benjamin Miles, he'll move on to the round of 8. Came into this race second in the points, needed a good outing, got 10th. So we know that for certain he will be in the round of 8. But what about everybody else? John Arndt was 15th. I don't think that's going to be enough to get him into the playoffs unless he can somehow also dislodge someone like J Baskinger or Charles Sandfer, but I don't know if he was close enough. Anthony McCrury, he's going to be close. He was, 4 points behind the cut line? I think, no, 3 points behind the cut line. He gets 17th. I don't know if he's made it in or not. McIntosh, 18th. I think that was enough for him to make it into the round of 8. I don't know about R.J. Reynolds, 19th place. Was he close enough? He might have been able to pass someone like Sandfer or Baskinger, but the question is, was Brooke Allen close enough to get by him? And McCrury finished ahead of Reynolds, and McCrury was only 2 points behind R.J. Reynolds, and he finished 2 spots ahead of him. I don't know. It's going to be close. I can't say. I cannot in my head mathematically figure out who's in and who's not. Baskinger there in 20th. I don't know. Did he fall out, or did he manage to stay in? Now, we had 23 cars manage to finish on the lead lap. Basically, everybody else were drivers that had to come to pit road and lost laps on pit road as a result. Fitzwater there in 24th. Surprisingly enough, 24th place is going to be good enough for Fitzwater to move on to the next round. He was so far ahead of everybody else in the point standings in this round. So Fitzwater will be in the Elite 8. And then Batson, Alvarise, Smart, Ciculli, Keith, they all finished off the lead lap. Then out of the race, here's where the interesting thing is. Charles Sandfer, 32nd. I think he might have fallen out of the Elite 8. I think he might not be moving on to the next round. Trent Dunham, there's a big question mark. He was 17 points ahead of the cut line. He finishes 33rd. Is he in or is he out? I don't know. And Daniel Voyles, he came into this race 3rd in points. He was 20 points ahead of the cut line. He finishes dead last. Is he still in or is he out? The points are going to be really, really close, and I cannot call who is in and who is out just based on looking at the statistics right here and where everybody finished. We're going to have to wait on Score 4 to give us the official word, and I'll be finding out the same time that you guys do. But Benny Watson, you know what? I'm going to call him in that. You know, it's a different series. For the Hersheys Cup Series, Benny Watson is the rookie sensation of domination. He's earned that title here for this series. 4 wins this year as a rookie and back-to-back wins at Lime Rock last week and here today at Madrid. But 8 drivers move on to the next round of the playoffs. 4 drivers, their journey comes to an end here. For those 8 drivers that move on, they're going to have to tackle the 1.5 mile at Michigan, another super speedway in Talladega, and then our final elimination race to determine the final 4 to compete for the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway, and then the finale at Auto Club. Hope you guys all enjoyed today's race, though. If you did, be sure to give it a like. Subscribe to become part of the crew today. This was an exciting race. I like Madrid. Madrid will be back next year on the schedule, no doubt. But we will show you now we've shown you your full finish results. We will now show you your rookie point standings, and here are your overall point standings and playoff points heading into next week. The drivers that are highlighted in yellow are your 8 drivers that are moving on to the next round of the playoffs. So looking forward to that, and you're going to see that next, because next week is just Hersheys Cup Series action as we head to our first race of round 3 of the playoffs for the Hersheys Cup Series at Michigan International Speedway. Then after that, you will see Pizza Hut X Series and Hersheys Cup Series action from Talladega before all 3 series will come back for back-to-back weeks at Homestead and Auto Club. Till then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the SRA Offline Racing at its best. So long from Madrid.